A massive thank you to all of you for the feedback that you gave us on the last video where we talked about the 3 stages of responding to COVID-19, and we talked about them in terms of response, emergency response, then recovery, and then reconstruction. And lots of you as a result of that have asked me, well, how do you go about setting strategy in that environment when everything is so volatile, when it's uncertain, when it's chaos, and when it's ambiguous as well? And so I just wanted to go through that, and there's an acronym that we'd like to give you called STRIPE, S-T-R-I-P-E. I just want to go through each of those phases of how you develop a strategy in this environment. So the first one, S, is for the stages, and we've already talked about those: response, recovery, and reconstruction. And as you'll see from this chart, each of those phases has their own unique characteristics. So in response, we're thinking about safety and stability, we're thinking about the present moment, we're thinking about saving lives, we're thinking about delivery and execution and moving fast, and it's the activists and planners who are really engaged in that. And as we go into recovery, which is a distinct phase, different stage, then we're thinking about reflection and learning. We're looking back as well as looking forward. We're thinking, we're reflecting on what we've learned, and we're starting to move forward, and we're starting to create, and we're coming out of lockdown. And we need to be emotionally engaged and focused on people and people's needs. And then on reconstruction, the third phase, where we're thinking about mainly forward looking, about creativity and imagination and what does the future look like, and we're thinking about values, and we're thinking about what we're going to try and create and build in that final phase. So S is for stages. Think about those 3 stages. And T is for teams. And we're saying to you really that you need different teams looking at each of those stages. So you will probably already have a crisis response team, but you need a recovery team and reconstruction team. And those teams need to be different if they possibly can, or at least segment your thinking into those spaces if you have a smaller organization. But best if you can to free up some people to be thinking about those phases, because they are so different. So teams. Then R is for riverbanks. And that might be a strange thing to think about, but in terms of riverbanks, we're thinking about setting boundaries for each of those teams. The general sense and direction of the organisation needs to be set for those teams. What are the riverbanks that are going to guide you towards the future? You have a purpose, you know where the sea is, you know the general sense of direction. You need to spell that out in terms of principles and values. What's going to guide you through this period? What are your riverbanks that those teams can operate in? And then I is for iterate. Because everything is so fast moving, you're going to need to be agile, you need to move quickly, and those teams are going to have to go through scenario planning, thinking about what if, and actually spelling out those scenarios. What if we get into lockdown more quickly, more slowly? What if the government allows groupings of 50 people or 100 people? What are the scenarios and how are we going to respond? Because by the time you get to them, it's going to be too late. So set out those scenarios and then iterate. What are the triggers? What are the triggers for each of the scenarios that are going to make you move in different directions? And draw up a matrix, and we can help you on doing that, so you know which scenarios are going to happen at which time and what the triggers are. And then P is perspective. And as a senior leader, one of the reasons for setting up these teams is so that you can keep the broad perspective. You can be scanning the horizon, you can be looking at the direction of travel, you can be working with your key partners, you can be listening, you can be joining a CEO group or a senior team group in your industry and learning from them. We all need one another at this time. So perspective. And then E is execution and evaluation. So getting on and delivering the scenarios when the triggers happen, executing well, executing brilliantly, but then continually evaluating. How are we doing it? Is that strategy working? Have some of the triggers changed? Have some of the situations changed? So we hope that simple acronym, STRIPE, so the 3 stages of response, recovery, reconstruction, teams for each of those stages, riverbanks, boundaries for each of those teams that set out the general direction of travel, iteration, so scenario planning, and then the triggers for each of those scenarios. Perspective, keeping a broad horizon and a horizon that's far enough into the future. And then execution and evaluation. We hope that's really, really helpful for you. If it is, then please comment in the comments below, hit the subscribe button, like the video, share it widely, and we'll be back next week with some further thoughts. And don't hesitate to get in contact if you think we can help you as an organisation. Stay safe, stay well. We're all in this together. Thanks so much.